Sometimes we want to just fix something or do something, and you may think you have the right answer, but it may not be. There's always more than one way to get to the end result. Don't just hire a body. There are times you hear people say, I just need a body. No, you don't. Because sometimes you might just have to put in those extra hours. I know we work very hard, but sometimes it might mean a 12 or 14 or 16-hour day. Because at the end of the day, they've done you more damage than good. And that's one that I have seen happen on several occasions in different walks of life, including our own.
Welcome to the Biz Life Podcast. I am Donnie Bedore, your host. We're here to talk about the business life, not the busy life. So I have Lisa Smith from Stop Restoration in Fort Worth, in Texas, the only one. And the only Lisa Smith that you ever need to know when it comes to anything restoration.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So we have a great episode today. A lot of inspiration. I guarantee you will come out of this episode. So definitely stay tuned and make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell and notification stuff because it really helps. So anyway, let's get to it. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You made it to the Biz Life.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first I want to talk about you, right? Okay. Introduce yourself to the audience and who are you and where'd you come from and all that stuff?
Oh, great. So I am Lisa Smith. I am originally from Jacksonville, Florida. And the exciting thing about me, I am a Florida State Seminole. I know I am in the state of Texas, but I am a diehard alumni.
Okay.
So I love football. I love sports, period. I even watch curling in the Olympics. Like who does that? And so with my life, I was actually in HR for many years. I was an HR executive for many years. And then I met my husband, Morris, and he has been a serial entrepreneur, but he's also a professional as well. Okay. And we've been in corporate. And so we had been doing some different things and flipping houses, rehabbing. And so we had the opportunity to actually invest in a franchise. And that's how we came to Stop Restoration.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long, or where did you meet your husband at?
So we met in Atlanta.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Yeah. And we were working together, and I told him I don't crap where I eat. So if it ever worked, he went somewhere else. And literally, the minute he actually went to work somewhere else, he asked me out. He said, "Can we go out now?" And I was like, "Sure." So we've been married 22 years.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We have 3 grown children. Okay. And have one daughter in love that I absolutely love, Beverly, and 2 grandchildren that are the apples of my eye. And they are Mayuri and Megumi.
Okay. We just found out that we're going to be grandparents.
Oh, awesome. It's the best thing ever.
I can't wait.
Don't tell your kids that.
I know, right? It's like you were great, but your kids are greater.
Yeah. Exactly. Now we know why we had you.
I love it. Oh, man. All right. Well, so what I like to do is the Biz Life is really dedicated to the small entrepreneur, someone that's either just getting started or maybe someone that's been in business for a long time, just needs some inspiration, tips, tricks, anything like that that would inspire and help them out. So let's dive into the business. Okay. How long have you owned the franchise?
So 7 years.
Okay.
And I actually worked for my husband. So he technically owns it. Don't tell him I said so.
Oh, it's okay. My wife owns our business. So yeah.
But no, seriously.
Yeah.
And we work well together. So 7 years we've been doing this.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I definitely identify with that because my wife and I work together and have been for probably about 8 or 9 years as well too. Oh, wow. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what made you want to jump into owning your own business? Because it's a pretty big endeavor, right? And tell me about that.
So what happened is my husband's father, or I should say my father-in-law, I love him. He probably was like, why didn't you just say your father-in-law? So anyway, he's always had some type of business. Okay. And as I thought about it, my mother as well. I am blessed that my mom, she had me at the age of 36. Okay. Unfortunately, due to some other things that happened to her, she was a paraplegic. Oh, so she figured it out, and she left corporate years ago, because I'm 58, at the age of 46, and started doing landlord stuff. And so from that point forward, it's like, okay, we can do this. And getting tired of corporate America, as most people do, someone telling you what to do, how to do it, and not necessarily possessing the same values that you have. So we wanted to do something and be able to help the economy.
Okay, nice, excellent. And so it's just one location, and
at this point.
Yeah, and I guess do y'all have like different crews within the business that you
yes,
deal
we
with?
do. So within Stop Restoration, we have the one location, but we run about anywhere from 3 to 4 crews, depending on how the time of year. Right now, we're really doing that. It's that time of year where it's coming out of the summer, where we've dealt with some, let's say, water or things like that, leaks, and dealing more with mold. And I can say that our microbial growth, and dealing with situations like that. Now, we still do emergency, of course, and that's usually floods, fires, smoke, things like that. But we're really coming into the mold season.
Yeah. Well, one way, or the way that I met you, right, was through the Afterglow and being a part of that Friday morning huddle. And so what really inspires me whenever I'm in, your presence is, man, just your upbeatness, your happiness, and the inspiration that just comes off you. Okay. And where does that come from?
It's crazy because I am my mother's child, but I first have to give God all the credit. And so one of the things that we grew up learning is that if my mom can do it as a paraplegic, she always challenges us saying, you have no excuses. If I can do it as a paraplegic, if I can run a business, if I can go back and get my degree, you have no excuse. And what do you say? I'm upright, walking around, wake up every day. How do you challenge that? It's like, I think I better get it together. So the inspiration is, of course, from Jesus Christ. And then my mom, definitely thereafter. And then just having that work ethic of, I got to do it. There's no other choice. There's no other option. I have to make her proud.
Yeah. Failure is not an option.
Not an option at all.
I love it.
And we may fail at something, but we're going to succeed at something else.
Well, and really, is it failing?
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
You learn from it.
Yeah. If you quit and you say, you know what, I'm done, I'm walking away or whatever, then maybe, you could list that as a failure.
Right.
But if you continue to push forward through those obstacles, through those challenges, then really they're not failures, because to me, and you may, I'll let you speak on this as well too, I think I've learned more from those type of situations than I have being on the mountaintop, I guess, whatever. So
yes, I would totally agree. I think your most advantageous lessons come in those times of adversity and perseverance. So I would totally agree with that. And you're right. I shouldn't say it that way, because it truly is. If you learn something from that experience, and then you take that to the next experience.
Yeah, for sure. What do you see is your biggest challenge, like in the beginning of starting the franchise? What was your biggest challenge in starting your business?
I think the biggest challenge for me is getting out of my own way and getting out of my husband's way.
Okay.
Because sometimes we want to just fix something or do something, and you may think you have the right answer, but it may not be. There's always more than one way to get to the end result. And so that was always a challenge for me, even when I received executive coaching and I was in executive in HR. My executive coach used to always say, Lisa, give somebody else a chance to solve the problem. You don't have to solve it for them every time.
Yeah, I can definitely see you're definitely a go-getter.
Yes.
Right? And you see a problem, you want to just run to it, fix it, be a part of it.
Yes.
And I identify with that as well too. And so, allowing someone else to come in front and hey, how would you do this? And then give them that chance. I think, it's challenging sometimes.
It is. I've gotten better at it, of course, at this point in my life. But early on, it was like if you'd stack the dishwasher, I was like, well, why don't you I was like, the dishes are still going to be clean at the end. Let it be,
Yeah. So one thing that we have learned, my wife and I, in doing business is like staying in our lanes, right? In the beginning of the business, I was definitely one of those erratic drivers that I would go back and forth in different lanes and stuff. And so what way have you found that helps with working with your husband in the business that way?
Ready to boost your business's impact? Fully Promoted Fort Worth is your one-stop destination for branding needs, specializing in branded apparel and promotional products. They help attract, retain, and engage customers. From custom uniforms to eye-catching items, Fully Promoted Fort Worth has you covered. Contact them today to unlock your brand's potential. 817-803-4404. Fully Promoted, your success, their passion.
I think I always come back to that he really is the owner and he's the CEO, and then what he says at the end is the decision that we make. From a Christian perspective, of course, he leads the house and he does at work as well. But he's really good about involving me in decisions, even if it's outside of, because I do mainly the business development. I say that.
Yeah.
But there are times, that I'm involved in human resources, of course, because of my background. And then even with staffing and things like that. So it took me a minute, though, because I just wanted to help, because he's my husband, the same way as it's your spouse as well. You just want, you see them struggling and you don't want them to overwork. You might see a way and it's like, okay, sit back. Because he's a person that analyzes and processes for like 45 days. And I'm 45 minutes. So
I can see how that could be a little bit of a challenge, right?
Right. And I've gotten better over time, definitely. Like I said, after 22 years of marriage, I've figured it out. It takes a minute, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so another thing that I was wanting to talk about is, because you have the HR background, right? And then you have multiple crews. One of the challenges that I see a lot of new business owners is, how do I pick the right person? Right? How do I pick the right person? Is there any kind of 3-step process or whatever that you have developed over your time in that area that really helps you when it comes to that?
Navigating through that in this economy and in this market has been a challenge, even for me with my experience. But what I will share, there's definitely some different things you can do in tactics. So depending on where you're getting your candidates from, the best thing you can ever do is challenge that resume. Because a lot of times people will write resumes, especially in the world of AI.
I heard that. Someone told me the other day, they're like, I subscribe to this AI thing, and they send out 200 resumes in a day. I'm like, what?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And it even says things that they may not be conscious or have the background for, but they've studied it through AI. So you've got to challenge and push through those surface level questions. And that's one of the things, once you have that resume, challenge that resume. So if someone tells you they do that, then probe more. You've got to probe more, because we, even in today's market and with my experience, we've gotten in and we're looking for a certain position. It's like, okay, well, they really don't have problem solving skills, or they're really not a critical thinker. But the way the resume is written, and if you don't challenge it, you get them into the role, and then it becomes a situation where they have to actually exercise those talents or those traits. And you're like, well, wait a minute, that characteristic does not exist here. And then you have to do the opposite, and you dealing with an elimination of someone, and then that's never any fun. So, but so the challenges I would say would be to really challenge the resume, do your homework, definitely do the reference checks. Definitely always do the reference checks. I know a lot of times we want to skip past that. Do the reference checks.
Yeah. And reference checks, to me, I mean, do you find it like, if I'm going to give you a reference, then I'm probably going to know what they're going to say about me, right? Or I'm going to give you the good stuff, right? So whenever you're doing those reference checks, right, what are some key things that you try to pick up in the conversation that really, that you're looking for?
And I would say from the career side, the personal side, it's like that person's always going to say that. But from the career side, depending on if the individual is willing to share, I always ask about different scenarios, different temperaments. And I would expect it not to be the standard answer of, oh, they're very, resilient. They don't have those issues. If I hear that, then I said, okay, so let me ask you this question. And I always say, to this point, if you were to hire this person, what would you have them do, and tell me why? So it's kind of like, okay, because a lot of times it's not necessarily the manager. They might be their friend that worked with them. So once they start and that person starts to stumble, that usually gives me some caution or some pause, because I then want to probe more, because typically the answer that's going to come out, then you can probe further with that answer.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff. No, I mean, because really, especially when it comes to someone, buying, let's say, a franchise, right? This may be their very first job. They may have left corporate or something like that, and they weren't the HR person, right? And they didn't have that experience. So now you've spent, X amount of number on this business.
Correct.
This is going to be your livelihood. Correct. And typically, a small business, you may hire 2, 3, 4 people. Maybe it's a little bit larger and you have 20 people eventually, whatever. But picking that right person is vital.
It is very
when it
vital.
comes to, if the business is going to succeed or not.
Yes. And then the other thing I would say on the other side, I don't know if you're going to follow with that, is when it's time, make the decision and cease the hire. Cut your losses sooner than later. A lot of times we hang on to people, and you're better off doing them the justice of both the business and yourself to cut your losses as soon as possible.
I like that. Yeah.
Or pass the problem to someone else. And that was the one thing that used to just aggravate me in HR. I was like, you didn't manage them, and then you just gave them to somebody else to try and fix your problem that you didn't fix.
Yeah.
You know,
what do you, okay. So let's go there for a minute because I'm definitely one that's, slow to hire and quick to fire.
Good.
Right. But saying that, I'm also one that is very, as far as the training to give them the tools they need, right, and the mentorship. If they're willing to listen, then I am willing to pour in. Good. I've had some that won't listen.
Yes.
Right. You'll tell them to do something, and it's like, okay, I've told you 3 times to do this.
Correct.
Right. And but if they're willing to listen, I'm definitely willing to put in the extra time. Right. So where was I going with that?
Training is vital. Hire to fire, quick to hire.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would add into that thought process?
So I don't know if with your training, one of the things that I think holds people accountable is that they actually have to sign off that they've done the training, that they've studied whatever that training is. And whether you're regurgitating it back through a test or if it's on the job, just observing them, I think that gives them more accountability.
Have written down training.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
Our SOPs, have them written down, and it could be, a lot of times people think, standard operating procedures has got to be 5 pages. No, it could be literally 5 paragraphs.
Yeah.
As long as that person, that you've done the best that you can do. And then I always give them an opportunity, at least 2 or 3 tries. And then after that, it's like, okay, so is there a learning issue here, or is it that this person just doesn't want to do it? And then that's where you kind of walk through the path of they don't want to do it, then it's time to let them go, or is it time to put them on a performance improvement plan, or is it better just to cut your losses and then just help them? Because I said to a couple of people in my past life that the best decision we could have ever made is to part ways. And I've had a couple of them come back and and said, you know what, that was the best decision because I figured out what my career really was.
Yeah. Yep. I've seen that too.
Yeah.
I've seen that too. What I was going to say was, and you really alluded to it, right? What are some things that you see managers, owners struggle with, right? To get to that point where, okay, I have this employee, I need to let them go. And you piece it back and you're like, okay, well, you really didn't do X, Y, Z that could have prevented this type of situation, right? And you're more reactive versus being proactive, right? Is there anything that you would add into that? On what the owner or manager could do to make sure they don't get to this route where, okay, now I got to let you go and find someone else.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say the only other thing I would add is don't just hire a body. There's times you hear people say, I just need a body. No, you don't. Because sometimes you might just have to put in those extra hours. I know we work very hard, but sometimes it might mean a 12 or 14 or 16-hour day. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they've done you more damage than good. Yeah. And that's one that I have seen happen on several occasions in different walks of life, including our own, where we've just done that. I said, no. And it's done us a disservice. So we've had to go back and either do the work over or pay for something because we just hired a body versus someone that cares. Yeah,
and I've seen that. I think anybody that I've hired, if I was slow to hiring them and either, having 2 or 3 interviews with them, interviewing multiple people, seems like the person I end up getting usually works out really well. Excellent. But the time that I have, look, we need someone now, first person, yep, sounds good, hire them. Yeah. That person typically does not. So.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. All right, good. Well, I really like that you had that HR background, right?
Thank you.
And I'm sure it really has benefited your company as well too.
Yes, he doesn't pay me for that part.
What's your husband's name?
Morris.
Mr. Morris. All right. So Lisa's amazing. You need to give her a raise. Okay. There you go. All right. So it'll be coming to you soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Friday, checks in the mail. So what challenges, 8 years in, right? What's your biggest challenge you've run into within the business? And it doesn't have to be personnel or nothing, just biggest challenge in the business.
I think biggest challenge in the business is being able to respond immediately when there's the emergency. And in what we do, it's never the case because you've got to dispatch and do that. But what we have done is reduce our response time because we usually tell someone 90 minutes or less.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's usually quicker than that.
Yeah.
Unless they're in like Venus or, Midlothian or things like that. But in most cases, we can deal with it. And so that was our biggest challenge is how do we cut back on getting out to the customer or to the client, especially in those situations where it's a flood or if it's a fire.
Yeah.
Because the emotions are going. You've never had this situation before. How do we deal with that? And I will also backtrack and say also dealing with different personalities and people. Was the first challenge as well because I'm pretty calm, and it's life experiences are different. Once you've experienced some tragedy or things early in your life, you're like, yeah, it's water coming in, but I've seen X.
Right.
Fire is different. Fire is a whole different animal because that's very emotional, highly charged. Yep. And how do we bring the emotions down from the person or how do we comfort? Because we go in very differently when we do a fire. We do those rarely because there's so many fire chasers. But when we're there emotionally, we're coming in and what can I do for you? How many kids do you have? Do you have clothes? Do you have food? Let's go to Walmart. Let's take care of that first. What do you need? We have a fire kit and all those different types of things. So I would say learning emotions and how to respond in those situations.
Yeah. Emotions and relationships to me are probably the most difficult thing in life really to handle. I can handle a lot of things, right? Yeah. But when it comes to relationships and emotions, once those are interjected into the conversation, it's like, it's difficult, right? Because people react how things occur to them, speaking of floods and things, so I have a story real quick. So my son, years ago, it was probably, 2010, something like that, calls me at work, says, hey, Dad, there's water leaking from the ceiling, and it's coming from the light fixture. And he was probably 11 years old at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, where's it leaking at? And he's like, well, it's weird because it's leaking right in the sink. I'm like, well, at least it's leaking into the sink, right? Yeah. But that's really weird that water would be coming in. So this was during the big freeze whenever the Super Bowl was in Dallas.
I remember that
huge freeze, right?
Oh my gosh, you couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, so it was during that. Okay. It was like a day or two after.
Oh, it was crazy.
Right? And so I'm like, that's really weird. Hung up. And about maybe 30 minutes later, he calls me back. He's like, hey, Dad, that little leak, the whole ceiling caved in and the water's flooding the house. Oh, wow. I was like, oh my gosh. So I made a beeline home. Pipe was really weird because it was wrapped, but it still froze. Copper pipe, and busted, flooded the house. It was horrible. Horrible situation. Got a new kitchen out of it though.
That's what I was gonna say. Think about it as a remodel.
Oh yeah, it was. $30,000 remodel.
So I tell people, as long as your insurance is good.
It was good. I had paid that bill. Good. Thank goodness.
That's important.
Yeah. Now, as far as the business, right? Where do you? Let's talk a little bit about marketing.
Okay.
Right. Are you involved into the marketing of the business?
Yes, I am the marketer of the business, and there's
perfect.
Another person.
I got the head cheese here, so that's great.
Yeah, I guess.
Perfect. Yeah. So tell me about your marketing. What are you? What platforms do you like to market? Is there a certain thing that you've really zoned in on that does well for your business?
I would say it's a combination. There is definitely no magic or silver lining anymore. They used to be back in the day, but truly it's relationship marketing. Now I can't encompass it and say it is just that. So it's all about people getting to know you, learning you, wanting to trust you. And it's a process, So I think a lot of times we think we walk in because we're not sales, we're marketing. There's very much a difference because we don't have a product to sell. We're waiting for something to happen. So when it does happen, I want to be top of mind. I want stop to be top of mind.
I love it.
Now, the one thing that helps us a lot is the stop sign because it's kind of easy. How do we do this? One of the things I think works really well also is having a leave, like a takeaway, have something that they have a leave behind. But my biggest piece is learning the personalities. And we kind of talked about that a little bit when we were talking about employees, but understanding your audience and knowing who you have.
Okay. Can you talk about that?
I'll give you a nugget on this. Please, all right. Please, I'm cheating you. I'm giving you my stuff. You better be glad I love Donnie and his wife too. The business is awesome. So it's called Bulls, Owls, Lambs, and Tiger, Bolt.
Okay.
Bolt. So, because, we're used to the disc, or we're used to the Myers-Briggs, or used to those ones that are so hard and that are 17 pages. So it's called Bolt.
Okay.
There's also something like the predictive index or the culture index that are quick as well. But my favorite is the bolt. So it's bulls, owls, lambs, and tigers. So when you think of a bull, what do you think of?
Strong, tough, loud. Yep.
Exactly. So type A personality.
Type A. Yep.
So that would be someone that probably is like, get to the point.
Yeah.
So recognize that when they come in, because typically if you run across someone and they're like, okay, what you here for? And get to it.
Yeah.
Don't try and make up. Don't stammer. Just go straight back at them. So glad you asked that. Go right in. And don't.
Yeah.
And be done.
Yeah.
And then either they'll respect you or they won't, but keep coming back.
I love it.
Okay. The second one is the owl.
Okay.
What do you think of when you hear owl? Besides, whoo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, someone that's always watching out. They're back a little bit shy, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
So think about a librarian.
Yes.
They want to know every single thing about every single thing.
Very analytic.
Yes.
thinker.
So when you see that person or you meet that person, what do you have that you can give to them that's tangible about your business that they can read all
They want
about
details.
that?
Yeah, they want the details.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then you got a lamb.
Shy and just I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Nurturer. Like, are you
Nurturer.
going to take care of my people? How are they? So that. And then last, tiger.
Okay. All right.
Tony the tiger.
Yeah.
Kinda
Very
like
loud and
Fun.
and
Party.
Yeah, party. Yeah.
So that's the person that's probably got the shiny car outside. Come on in. Let's let's
There you
make
go.
this fun
Yeah.
for my people.
yeah.
Bolt.
I love it.
How about that?
Man, that's golden.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's golden.
It's because you're done.
That
You've
is a
done it
Scooby
out.
snack. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
That is good.
Yeah, and it's easy. you know?
Yeah.
It's easy.
Very nice. Excellent. Yeah, and so that helps with whenever you are talking to these customers.
Yes. And in life, even think about
Yeah.
some of your
Yeah,
family
completely.
members that might be difficult.
Oh, whenever
sometimes.
you were saying that, I'm like, check.
But
Yeah.
but it's amazing because you don't realize, because they've taught us so much about Myers-Briggs or DISC or these long personality surveys, and you're just like, oh.
Right? Yeah.
If you're not an HR,
Yeah.
or a psychologist, different things like that.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's important to be able to read the room. I've always said
That's major.
What do you think of intelligence, like IQ versus EQ? Right, emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I think is super important, especially when it comes to business.
I say emotional intelligence is above IQ to me, because if you don't read the room, you'll never get to the intelligence. Because you think about
Come on now. Yeah.
you never get there.
Yeah.
Because the person's like, they don't even understand. They even look. What do they know? Did they observe? You walked in, everybody's busy. They're quiet. Okay, I can see you're busy. What's a good time I can come back?
Yeah.
They're running around. Yes, this is not the time.
Yeah. Being really, really keen in on that emotional intelligence, I think is super important. Reading the room,
Yes.
communication,
Yes.
right? I've always said that, you can have your intelligence here,
Yes.
but if your intelligence will only go up as high as your communication level,
That's true.
And
if you're socially awkward, that's
yeah, agree. So those are soft skills that we can work on
yes.
very easily.
Yes.
Very easily. Pick up a book, listen to the Biz Life Podcast.
That.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you get great stuff out of here. You
I
better
appreciate
listen.
that. No, but and it really, really does help you move the needle in
It
your
does.
business.
You have to. If you're not listening, or one of my other things is, if you're not constantly learning, are you really growing?
No.
That's been around for years, and people really don't take it to heart. I say, if you're not always evolving, something's different. Somebody's already ahead of you.
Yeah.
Or as they say in, the afterglow, if you take advantage of the opportunity at that point, but you got to be ready and willing and able.
Able. Yep.
Able is key.
Yeah.
To be ready when they come.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I love it. Well, we're getting close to the end of the podcast.
Already?
I know, right?
That time went like,
It does. So what I like to do is a couple things.
Okay.
Number one, I like to dive in a little bit more about you as far as like, what is the, I don't know, give us a funny story or something.
there's nothing.
Yeah, right. Maybe something that nobody knows about you or something like that, right? And then we'll dive into a little bit more of the business.
Okay. So something that you don't know about me is j'ai étudié l'école par 3 ans. So I studied French for 3 years.
Ah, je m'appelle Donnie.
Yeah,
Comment
je
allez-vous?
m'appelle Lisa. Bien, et toi?
Bien, bien.
Oh, look at that.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Only a couple years in high school.
Yeah.
That's about as far as I can
I
go.
did 3 in high school and 3 in college. So it
Nice,
stayed
okay.
with me now. I don't get to use it at office, so don't ask me too much anymore. But I've gotten a little mediano son español, though, from Paquito,
okay.
so I'm learning.
That's
since
my
I'm
wife. I got to keep her around for
Tejas.
that.
I love being here, and it has helped me being a Floridian and then also being in Texas.
That's cool.
And I love it. And it's easy. I mean, español is fácil. It's just like, talk to people. like, this is so easy. Why don't you want to learn it? You know, at least a few words, you know?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. Now, as far as your business, right? What is a good referral for you? What is something that, you know, who would you like as far as business? And then how could someone get a hold of you?
Okay.
If they need your services.
Okay. So two things. A good referral for us, of course, would be a business or a residential that may have a water, fire, flood, any of those things.
Okay.
Also someone that may be smelling something or have headaches, because that's always the giveaway when it's microbial growth. I'll say mold here, but as a licensed mold remediation contractor, I technically should be saying microbial growth. People go, what's that? Okay, mold.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes that really gets away from people, and that's really important. One of the things I'll say, and I'll educate real quick, is that in the state of Texas, you really want a licensed mold remediation contractor to do work, because it is licensed and it is regulated by the state of Texas.
I did not know that. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a mold remediation contractor, which is us, Stop Restoration. And then there is the mold consultant, which would be someone that would actually come out and do the testing, the protocol, tell us how to perform the work.
Okay.
We do the work, but they tell us exactly where to cut flood cuts, or if we need to encapsulate something or something of that nature.
Nice. Let's go into that real quick.
Okay.
What is black mold?
Several types of mold. So there are over 2,000 types of mold. And people always go to the black mold stocky botchers and they go, oh my gosh. I said, mold can be yellow, it can be white, it can be green. You know, there's aspergillus, there's chaetomium, there's, you know, so many different types. And then the stocky botchers is the black mold.
Okay.
But they all can be dangerous if not treated or removed appropriately.
I gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks for educating me on that.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know much about mold or anything. So,
well, we don't want you to know. So hopefully you don't ever come across it. Besides on bread or on cheese. And then, but some mold and cheese good.
Oh, man, I'll tell you.
Give me some brie.
Some brie. I love it.
Yeah.
So what's the best way for someone to reach you?
We are 24/7, 365. So we work every day.
Okay.
We're 24/7. We respond 682-703-0213 is our 24-hour number. Again, that's 682-703-0213. Or if you see the stop sign, you can Google Stop Restoration. We will come up. I can also give you the website. It's www.stopwestfortworth, just like it sounds, stopwestfortworth.com.
Nice. And I'll tell you, Lisa is amazing.
Thank you.
Not just amazing at business, but you're an amazing person.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being in my life, and thank you for being on the show.
Of course. And
you're awesome.
You're awesome.
Spread the word. Say that again. No, I'm just kidding.
You're awesome.
All right. Well, hey, thank y'all for watching the Biz Life Podcast. Again, like, subscribe, share out. Man, it really does help the algorithm and continue to build this channel. And we'll see you next time on the Biz Life.